Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Sutras for Good Life. My name is Himangsu Sao. So today I want to talk about something that I think all of us have experience about, but we never really had a name for it. So there is a issue that every company or any organization, college, university always face. I'll try to first define the that's the topic, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And it's very interesting topic, so stay with me. So in your organization, in your company, or wherever you work, you'll find there is one very um, person, very nice employee at work, or even a friend in your group, a group project, who just knows the things like how something works. Like they know exactly who to text to get an approval, push through faster, and they are the one who somehow fix that one spreadsheet nobody else can make sense of, or they just remember which file is the real and one. Everything is named like file version 2, actual file, final file. We look at that person and we say like, wow, they are really good at this. That friends is very knowledgeable. That employee is very skilled employee. But there is a catch. But I want to I want you to sit with for a second. For most of the time, that skill isn't actually a valuable skill. That skill is not a valuable skill on its own. It's only exists because something around it is broken. If the approval process was quick and digital, nobody would need to know who to call. If the files were organized properly in the first place, nobody would need to be the human search engine for them. That's actually a name for this. So name for that kind of skill is called compensatory skill. So that is called compensatory skill. So it is a skill that an employee develops primarily to work around an inefficient, poorly designed, or poorly automated organizational process rather than to create value for the customer or the organization. And those usefulness declines or disappears once that process is fixed. Yeah, so that is the definition of the compensatory skill. So, and there's a really simple way to test it. Ask yourself, if this process got fixed tomorrow, would this skill still matter? If the answer is no, that is your sign that you are not building capability. You are just coping. And honestly, this is worth talking about because it is so easy to feel proud about being that one who always figured it out. I get it. It feels good to be needed, but that pride cannot quietly keep you stuck propping up something broken instead of ever pushing to fix it. So in the next few slides, I'll walk you through some example. You will instantly relate what I am talking about. Okay, so if you notice this is in yourself, and then get into a slightly uncomfortable truth about how this pattern can end up reinforcing itself over time. Okay, so let's see few examples. So after that you can relate what the compensatory skills is all about. So let me go through this. So yes, so skills created by organizational inefficiency. So some skill exists to compensate for the inefficiency in the system. So poorly managed organization, or is there any like inefficiency? For that, there are some skills um, developed over the time. So first one is knowing the right person. This happens everywhere. Nothing moves unless you know who to ask, who to call, who will actually reply. That's not really a skill. That's just you finding a way around a slow approval process. Next is memorizing unwritten rules. Every manager, every professor does things a little differently, and nobody writes it down. So you just remember it. But if there is a one clear process, you would not need to remember anything. than the Excel. A lot of people will relate to this one. You spend hours fixing and merging spreadsheet because different department use different system that don't talk to each other. This is not really an Excel skill. This is just fixing a problem that should not exist. Same thing with knowing where files are saved or being the person who always fixes the printer in the office. Yeah, that's the real compensatory skill you can relate. So you'll find one person who knows how to run a printer in the office because the printers is not reliable. Knowing the tricks to get a seat during course registration before the website crashes. So this is more related with the university system. So you have a inefficient website where you need to do the course registration, and many people like develop that skill. Okay, this period of time, like after 12 o'clock, the websites um, respond faster. So people like they do not sleep and they wake up after 12 1 o'clock to do the course registration. So um, that is a compensatory skill because your website is not efficient. All of these are like the same patterns. Something is broken and you adjust to it, and we call that adjustment a skill. Yeah, indeed that is a skill, but there is that name of that skill is compensatory skill. Okay, and let's talk about something with the research. So for the research lab, if you work in a research lab and you get this instantly, there is always one person who knows which file is the correct one because nobody set up a proper naming system. So whenever you work with the data, you should always follow a good naming system. Otherwise, the next person who is coming to work on the same project, he will be lost and which file to use. So the point of this slide is very simple. None of the means that people are lazy or doing something wrong, but every one of these things disappear the moment the process is fixed. That's the whole idea. There are not These are not a real skill. So compensatory skills are not a real skill. They are just a coping mechanism or the coping skill. And like the slide say, the goal should be to fix the actual problem, not just get better at working around it. You should always try to fix that problem, that inefficiency, rather than working around it. Okay, so you can go through this slide and you can read the other examples. Okay, so let's see um, what we what to do if you find your organization or at your workplace, if you find this kind of compensatory skills are needed, your manager may be forcing you to develop this kind of skill. So what to do about it if you find? So first thing, every organization, every setup, every job will be there those kind of compensatory skills you have to develop actually, because none of the organizations are like the 100% efficient. Every organization has some sort of inadequacy, or there will be some problem, and you you're like bound to develop those compensatory skill in somewhat. Okay, so let's see how what to do. So I will list down the 9 practical takeaway for the students and the employees who are working in the office or in a corporation. So avoid the trap. So don't build your career mainly around navigating a broken process. Okay. So that's as simple as that. So uh, try not to build your whole career around just handling a broken process. Second one is don't take pride in it. It feels nice when people say, "Oh, only you can fix this." But being needed and being valuable are two different things. Being needed is a very high point. Okay, you can note it down. So you are needed in an organization and you are very valuable employee in that organization. Two are two different things. Don't confuse the two. Okay. Three, so third one is run the portability test. So what is portability test? So just ask yourself, would these skills matter if I worked somewhere else? If the answer is no, that's the sign this is just a coping skill. So you develop some compensatory skill and ask yourself, if I switch my job to a new company, can I transfer this skill to that new company? Will that this skill will still matter in my new company or not? If your answer is no, then it is just a compensatory skill. And compensatory skills are company specific skills. Okay, compensatory skills are company specific or the workplace specific skills. Those are not a real skill. So real skill is that it has a portability. A real skill is a portability. You learn something, and if you switch, if you go to the other company, you can still use that skills. Suppose you learn coding, like you started learning Python. So Python is like a real skill. If you switch job, go to the other company, if that company also works with the Python, then your skill transferred. But if you develop some skill that is only relevant for that particular company or particular that job, then that will fail the portability test. You cannot port your skill to the new place. So fourth one is, watch out for being indispensable but stuck. Sometimes you get so good at handling the mess that the company cannot move you anywhere else. So because they need you stuck right there fixing the same problem. You work in one department and there are some problem, and and you are very good at managing that broken system. You are handling that mess. So your company will not move you anywhere else, because you become the expert of managing the broken process. So company will not think of replacing you with someone else who doesn't know how to handle those things, because the skill is not portable. Okay. So fifth one is, try to convert into something real. Instead of just being good at working around the problem, try to document it or actually fix it. That way you are creating real value, not just managing the mess. So if you see there is any mess, there is any broken process, try to automate. Try to come up with a solution. Talk to your manager. There is a problem, and it is consuming lots of your time, and the resources are being used because of that inefficient process or whatever. So you can come up with a real solution so that you don't have to find out a workaround. Sixth is, use this to check a company before you join. Yeah, so whenever you trying to join a new company, you can have a check. So in the interview, you can ask the interviewer. So ask like people what they actually spend most of their time in the day. If most of the answer is like chasing approvals or fixing broken things, that tells you something about the company. So seventh one is, notice protective incentives. Sometimes people don't want to fix a problem because if it is gets fixed, they lost their importance. Yes, that's the things happen in most of the organization. So there's a broken process, and someone comes and someone developed that skill how to manage that uh, broken system. They know if something happen, whom to approach. There is no like a written like a formal documentation is there. This, if some problem happen, what to do. If there is so there will be one person who knows what to do, and so that person will never wants that problems to be solved. There should be any solution. Otherwise, that person who is managing the broken system will lose its importance. Okay, so people wants that there should be some people start protecting that inefficiency in the organization. People start protecting the inefficiency, because the if the inefficiency is been removed, they will lose their importance. So it's happened in the organization, in a private organization. This also happen in a government organization as well. So these things are more prominent in the government organization, like the government offices. Those things are very prominent. People don't want to change the system because they are become more comfortable in staying in the inefficient system. And the eighth is, this one is just a simple way to think about it. using two things: how much value a skill creates and how portable is to other place. That's help you to see clearly whether where a skill actually stands. Okay, so you can do a test. So find out the skills, how much it's a value it is creating. You have a skill and see how much value it is creating. And you should also always remember, I have developed some skill, and it should also be transferable. Transferable means if you switch the job, whether that skill will transfer with me or not. It should not be company specific skill, otherwise you will waste your time, your like mental energy, everything will lose once you switch the job, because it's not being transferred with you. You can do a test on that. So your skill should have two components. It should be valuable, it should have a capacity to add value to your organization, and it should also be transferable. Okay, there are many skills are there that those are company specific. That it may be a software that you are learning, and that software is only accessible or the developed by the company. Okay, and if you go to the other company, they do not use that software. So the skill that you develop to work with that software, if it is company specific, and but it is not transferable, so you lost your time whatever you spent learning those softwares, because it is not transferable. So you should always develop a skill which are value adding plus transferable. And the ninth one is, if you are stuck in a situation like this for now, just try to spend some part of your time also building a skill that will transfer somewhere else. Don't let the job only makes you good at handling one specific mess. Okay, so as I at the beginning of the presentation I said, like there will be a small portion of the your work will be around on those compensatory skills that you have to you will develop those skills, but you have to see how much time, how much portion of your whole day, 10%, 20% of your whole time are you giving for the compensatory skill, or maybe the 80% you are giving to the value adding and transferable skills. You are developing a skill that both are transferable or the value adding skill. If it is more like 80% or 70%, then it is good actually. And 10-20% of your time, your energy, effort you are giving for compensatory skill, then it is like good. But if you see, you are giving your time like 70-80% of your time, effort as being given for this managing the broken system, managing the mess, inefficiency, managing efficiency, then you are losing actually. You are not going anywhere. So you will stuck in that job, and your career will be stuck because you are not learning a actual skill. Okay, so hope these things make sense. So there are 9 points. So we'll move to the next thing. Those that is little interesting. So this is called reinforcing loop. So this is a little interesting. Joe, stay with me. Okay, so this is the last slide. So I think this is the most interesting part. This is what happens over time. If nobody fixes the actual problem, it starts simple. There is an efficiency. Somewhere there is an efficiency in the system, in the organization. Maybe a slow process, maybe a messy system. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter what is that inefficiency. Then someone in the team finds a workaround. In Hindi we say jugaad. Jugaad. We say this means like workaround. Something is not working. You come up with a non-standard method to uh, make these things works, and that person will figure it out a way to deal with it. Now here is where it gets interesting. Now the interesting part is, over the time people stop seeing this as a workaround, so that workaround become normalized. That workarounds become normalized. It's just because become known as that person's skill. So people start thinking that compensatory skills a personal skill, and nobody question it anymore. It's just a normal now. And then it goes one step further. These skills actually start showing up in the performance review process. That's the most interesting part. There is a compensatory skill, and it has become so normalized that people started recognize that skill as something a real skill, and it's become a part of the performance review process. That the person gets the praise for it, they get a reward, they get the appreciation because of that, maybe even promoted for it. And once that happens, something strange occurs. The original problem, the actual inefficiency, end up getting protected. Okay, so once there is a inefficiency, there is a problem, people come up with a solution, and that become the skill that goes into the performance review. And people now will stop bother about the inefficiency because they find out the way to handle those inefficiencies, and so that inefficiency is getting protected by a it's become formalized by the system, by the company, or by the organization. It's become standardized. So when the inefficiency is standardized, no one is going to come up with that solution. Okay, so if someone fix it, that person is specialist will not matter anymore. So without anyone even realizing it, there is now a reason for the problem to stay exactly as it is. And that just bring us right back to the step one. The inefficiency is still there. So you started with a skill, there is a loop, and at the end you see the inefficiency is not been addressed. So you stuck with the inefficiency, and there is no one in the organization, um, in the company or the any setup, no one has any incentive to solve that inefficiency. This happened with the companies in the government organization. It's happened with the government at the top level. So they just forget about that there is an inefficiency that we need to address. So once the organization start rewarding the coping skill itself, it has quietly created a reason to keep the problem alive. So the real lesson here is we should be careful what we praise and reward, because sometimes we end up rewarding people for surviving a problem instead of actually solving it. Okay, hope you learned something new. So that is all. Okay, so so please like and subscribe my channel. I will come up again with some other interesting topic related to this related to the decision making and organization skill related topic. I will again bring it to you. Okay, so thank you everyone.